Success didn't feel like I thought it would. Sometimes I stare at my phone hoping someone understands. If you've ever looked in the mirror and didn't recognize yourself, you're not alone. We were taught that more effort equals more results. But what if that belief is what's making us feel stuck? Napoleon Hill, the mind behind Think and Grow Rich, didn't define self-discipline as punishment, but as clarity in action. Clarity about why you're doing what you're doing. I remember a season where I couldn't tell if I was being productive or just busy. The days blurred, the checklists grew. On paper, I was winning. Promotions, salary jumps, recognition. But inside, hollow, disconnected. Hill called it definiteness of purpose, the ability to move with intention. Without it, success can feel like failure. I was running on autopilot, fueled by momentum, not mission. One day, I canceled a meeting, sat in my car, engine off, and asked myself, what am I chasing? That quiet pause became the loudest turning point. It was the beginning of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Honesty. Clarity isn't a spark. It's a process of unlearning. It begins with questions we're afraid to ask. Why this job? Why this goal? Who am I trying to impress? Hill didn't preach hustle. He preached precision. Craft a vision so clear it cuts through the noise. I stopped listing goals. I started naming values. What matters to me when no one is watching? It felt awkward, raw. But in that discomfort, I found patterns. And through the patterns, I found purpose. Discipline transformed. From restraint to respect. Respect for my time, for my energy, for what I truly wanted, not what the world clapped for. I started saying no, not from rebellion, but recognition. Not every door is meant to be walked through. Not every yes is worth the clarity it costs. We live in a world addicted to busyness. But Hill would remind us, activity without intention is distraction. True productivity is born from purpose. So if you're feeling lost, maybe the answer isn't to do more. Maybe it's to stop and ask better questions. Because at its core, discipline isn't control, it's emotional maturity. It's choosing long-term peace over short-term praise. You don't need to grind harder, you need to listen deeper. And if any of this sounds like the voice you've been silencing, maybe today is your moment to pause, to sharpen the axe like Hill once advised. Because success isn't about chasing more, it's about discovering what's worth chasing. And that clarity, that's what we seek together here at Mindset Mastery Hub. You smiled, but it didn't reach your eyes. You told them you were fine, but your chest felt hollow. If healing feels harder than hurting, you're not alone. There was a time when silence wasn't peace, it was armor. I wasn't exhausted from working too much. I was exhausted from pretending. Napoleon Hill once said, "You give before you get." I used to think that meant giving effort. Now I believe it means giving yourself the truth before expecting peace from anyone else. Healing isn't a finish line, it's a permission slip. One that reads, you're allowed to feel this, and you're allowed to not know what to do with it yet. I used to push through, thinking silence made me strong. But Hill didn't equate discipline with denial. He spoke of aligning action with belief, not suppressing feeling. The breakdown didn't come loud, it came quietly, alone, on the kitchen floor. No dramatic scene, just me, tired of holding it in. And somehow that became the beginning. I started journaling, walking without headphones, noticing my patterns, sitting with discomfort instead of sprinting from it. And the more I stayed, the more I softened. I realized healing isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the whisper that says, you're not broken, you're becoming. Hill's lessons on purpose weren't about achievement, they were about alignment. I began asking, does this job honor me? Does this relationship feel safe? Am I respected or just needed? And every time I chose myself, even just a little, the weight lifted. Healing isn't a checklist, it's a relationship with yourself. I stopped needing everyone to understand, because finally, I understood me. Discipline became gentler. Presence replaced perfection. Pacing replaced pushing. Purpose came into focus, not as a final destination, but as a compass, a gentle direction that made my days feel less like survival and more like home. Success, I realized, isn't loud applause or viral moments. It's waking up and not dreading the day. It's looking in the mirror and seeing someone you recognize. If that resonates, you're not alone. You're healing, even if it doesn't look like it to the world. You're welcome here. At Mindset Mastery Hub, this is your space to soften, to listen, to come home. you reclaim it. Because the most powerful success story isn't the one that impresses others, it's the one that resonates with your soul. It's the quiet, consistent choice to live in integrity, to rise without rushing, to stay rooted while the world spins fast. You realize you don't need to chase, you need to align. You don't need to prove, you need to remember. You don't need to be louder, you need to be clearer. This is the journey we're walking together at Mindset Mastery Hub. A journey not toward more noise, but toward truth. Not toward external approval, but internal alignment. So tonight, or this morning, or whenever you're reading this, pause, put your hand on your heart, and ask yourself, what is success to me? Not to the algorithm, not to your old identity, not to the expectations of others, but to you, the one who's still here, still trying, still listening. Because maybe success isn't something we achieve. Maybe it's something we remember. And maybe today, quietly, gently, is your moment to begin. Again, welcome home to your clarity, to your purpose, to your truth. You're not late, you're right on time. Mindset Mastery Hub, where success starts from within. Self-discipline isn't about self-denial, it's about self-devotion to your values, your clarity, your becoming. It's not the loud grind the world romanticizes, it's the quiet choice to return, again and again. To wake up and ask what matters today, and then align, not perfectly, but purposefully. Because true discipline isn't force, it's a promise that your future is worth the discomfort of the moment, that your values are louder than your urges, that peace is worth more than praise. When you say no to distraction, you say yes to direction. When you choose rest over performance, reflection over reaction, you reclaim your power. Napoleon Hill didn't define discipline as punishment. He framed it as clarity in motion, the invisible thread between desire and achievement. Not hustle for approval, but honor for the path you've chosen. So no, discipline isn't cold. It's compassion with structure. It's saying, I care enough about my life to live it on purpose. And every time you return to that, every time you choose integrity over urgency, you build trust with yourself. That's what changes everything. So if you've been walking this path, stumbling, rising, healing, know this. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're becoming. And your quiet effort, it matters more than you know. This isn't performance, this is practice. And you, exactly as you are already enough to begin. Again, welcome back. You're right on time. This is Mindset Mastery Hub. Let's walk together.